Welcome to my home. I am very excited to tell you a story that I've heard since I was a little kid. When my grandparents, Peter and Valborg Torjussen, went to China in 1919 and 1921, respectively, they were involved in missionary work in China. But it was a time of civil war, and things were out of control. The government had not collapsed completely, but it was not dealing well with issues in the countryside. So the Norwegian missionaries in Shanxi province, every summer to escape the heat of the summer, they would go to a place called Summerly. It was in the province of Luchnia in central western Shanxi province, and it had beautiful mountains and hills, and so it was a place the Norwegians could cool off a little bit in the summertime. So they were gathered there for a summer time. I don't know if we'd call it retreat or conference or whatever. They're probably going to spend quite a few weeks there. And it was their one chance to see each other and reconnect with all the things that were going on in their lives. So this one summer, I think it had to be about 1932. So we're talking a long time ago, 1932-ish. Summerly was where the Norwegians had their cabins. They had like 10, 15 cabins where the missionaries would all stay. But nearby was a village, and someone from the village said, "The bandits are coming." And you need to understand, during this lawless time in China in the 30s and before World War II, there was very little control, and bandits roamed the countryside. And the villagers said, "The bandits have heard the Norwegians are here, and they're going to come and steal all your gold." My Norwegian parents and their colleagues said, "We don't have any gold." They actually had to borrow money from Chinese people sometimes to pay their bills. Norway was the poorest country in Western Europe during this time. This was not a rich country like it is today. And so they said, "We don't have any money." And the villager said, "We'll tell the bandits, but they don't care. They assume you're a Westerner, you have money." So the Norwegians gathered in Summerly and they started praying. They spent the whole day in prayer. At noon, they broke to have lunch and they couldn't find the children. The children were gone. There had been about 8 children, 6 to 8 children, and they were gone. And they searched and they searched and they searched, and they finally, what they thought is the bandits had come early, kidnapped the children, were going to hold the children for ransom, which is quite a common thing. They finally found the children. They were tucked away in a storage room where the 6 to 8 of these kids were praying. They said, "If our parents are praying, we have to pray." And those kids were praying. So I think after lunch, the kids were not allowed to be on their own, but they were encouraged to continue praying. That night, you need to know, these Norwegian missionaries, they all had guns. They could have shot the bandits, killed them, done what they wanted to, but they had agreed they would never shoot humans. The guns were there because there were a lot of wolves during these terrible times, and the wolves would come out of the mountains starving. And the missionaries had to have guns to be able to shoot the wild animals, the wolves that were hunting the people and were very dangerous. But they had agreed they would bury or hide their guns and not use them to shoot the bandits. And they would try and negotiate and try and do whatever they could. The next morning, I'm sure they didn't sleep that night. The next morning, there was no sign of the bandits, nothing had happened. And eventually, during the day, someone went to the village and said, "What happened? You told us the bandits were coming. We never saw the bandits." And the villagers go, "What are you talking about? The bandits came. They went to your Summerly cabins and they were scared out of their minds because there was an army there." And the missionaries are going, "An army? What army?" "Well, there were these guys on top of every roof in white robes and flaming swords." Guess who they were? So the bandits came running through the village, running for their lives because they had seen the angels. Could it be the children? Could it be the children praying? Could it be it was just a time that God wanted to do something special. Well, we grew up with these stories. These crazy things don't happen all the time, but they do happen sometimes. And those children praying included my dad and my aunt and a bunch of the other missionary kids that were there on the compound. Hope you enjoyed the story.